What's going on, everybody? I just wanted to hopefully be encouraging today and share something that I try to keep at the front of my mind. And spending time with the Lord helps more than anything, along with reading His Word. But two things that I try to consider every day, is that, for one, do you know that what you do while you're here is being recorded? And by that, I mean, once your life is over, your choices, your decisions, your actions, words that you've spoken, they'll all be accounted for. And the word even, it's even in the word. And yes, if you've received Jesus as your Lord and Savior, you've been extended grace and mercy. And this grace and mercy is for you to be molded into the image of Christ. And so when it's all said and done for your life, if the Lord was to, and what I see a lot of times that, people with near-death experiences, I like watching those. What I see a lot of times is that people's whole lives will flash before their eyes. And one thing I like to think about is, if you died today and the Lord brought your words and your actions into the room with you as people, if He personified your actions and your words, and brought them into the room, what would they say about you? What would they testify to about your life? Would they testify to you being Christ-like? Would they testify to you striving to be Christ-like? Would they testify to you, catching yourself if you do something that's outside of Christ? What would they testify about you? And we should desire that our actions and our words be modeled after Christ, because, after all, that's we were put here for God's image anyway, and everything in this world is trying to get you to reflect the image of anything except for Christ. Everything, all the entertainment and everything is all trying to get you to behave like anything besides the image of God, Christ. So that's one thing I like to consider every day. I try to consider that at all times, And the second thing is, we're so comfortable in this life with everything. Everything that's been considered normal is most likely a perversion of what God intended for His creation. So another thing I like to try to consider every day is that, I even thought about it yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, but I was leaving work and a guy said, see you tomorrow, man. And I said, all right. And then as I walked away, I thought, well, hopefully, because I don't think anyone, who just passed away, by, just means of life, decided, all right, man, I think I'm gonna head out tonight, or I think I'm gonna head out, nobody thought beforehand, I'm gonna go ahead and end, I'm gonna go ahead and, it was a good run. This is it, and that's just something to consider, because we've come to live as if we've got time, and my wipers are beating. We live like tomorrow is guaranteed when it's actually not. So if it's not guaranteed, what is it today that maybe you should take a little more serious that if today is it, you can say, I lived in love. Love covers a multitude of sins. And I was reading the book of Luke, and it was like the 11th or 12th chapter, and Jesus was telling the disciples, he was saying, to be prepared for his return, because if you are not prepared for his return, if you think to yourself, I got time, he hasn't come yet, I still got time, to do what I like to do. He said that you'll fall into eating and drinking, and you'll become drunk and thinking that I'll make it right, tomorrow. I'll make it right in a little bit. I got time. Let me enjoy this, and I'm going to get right with God, after that. He said that if you live that way, he is going to come at a time that you think he isn't coming. That's what I read today. So that's, there's some things to consider, hopefully by considering those things, it improves your walk with Christ. But that one right there alone is a heavy one. The fact that if you think that you have time, he is going to come at a time that you don't expect. Y'all be blessed, and until next time, peace.